Hi everyone, this is Samir Singh Jenny here from the Digital Fifth. This session is primarily around interactions on three fronts. Primarily, the first front is what's going to happen on the banking side, right? So we have our own perspective. It's an interactive session, so we will share our perspective and then we'll take your feedback. The second component would be we'll share you what kind of fintech strategy and all of will be there, and aligned to that, what kind of jobs will sort of come up in the ecosystem, which is very, very critical. We should know what jobs are sort of getting built in the market. So that's very, very critical. We will talk about that. And then we'll talk about our course, which is primarily aligned to ensure that many from the fintech segment and banking segment, how do they sort of change their course of direction, their career through the session itself. So Maitri, can you just ensure that we don't get this sort of jingle back when somebody joins? Because otherwise we'll keep getting disturbed. Is it fine? Yeah. So I think we'll quickly go ahead with a quick session, and if anybody has any questions, so I'll take those questions as you go forward and ask for it. We'll basically look at those questions and try to respond back as we go forward. So I'm sort of happy to take it. It's more interactive, as I said, and we'll go all the way till 5 o'clock if required to answer queries as such. So with this, we start right away without taking too much of time. I'll just right away start. Just one sec. So yeah, I think so. My name is Samir Singh Jenny, and I'm part of the Digital Fifth team. And sort of in this particular session, we have this particular session is out of our session which we or training program which we are taking, which is starting on 4th of April, which is executive program on fintech, open banking, and financial blockchain. So from that, we have a session specifically on future of banking. Actually, there's a whole course around how bankers can transform the banking world, and some of the content we have picked up from there, and sort of we are trying to share those perspective here, as some of you were sort of really interested in saying that what is happening in the market. So that's what the session is all about. A quick background about us. We have been in this business, which is digital business, all our life. I personally have spent almost 22 years doing the same piece when digital was not called digital. It used to be electronic banking in those days. I used to head digital for Citi, then Kotak, and set up few banks as part of Infosys in US and Europe, pure digital banks in US and Europe. And then set up was part of a digital bank called Digital Initiatives for DCB. So I was heading the technology and digital for them. And 4 years we have been running this firm, which is primarily around digitizing and transforming the fintech industry. And we've been able to do a lot of market change in this process. I think the fact of the matter is that on the fintech side, a lot of transformation has happened in the last few years. And we have been part of it. Somewhere we had some role to play. Even if it is 0.1, we did have a role to play as such. And a lot of courses in India were built on our models and our structuring as well. And of course, we are primarily into consulting. So some of the stuff which you hear from our sessions are primarily from either our experience of building it or as consulting firm where we work closely with the customers and setting up their business. So right now we are setting up an MFI, we are resetting an old private sector bank, we are digitalizing a small finance bank. We have worked with NPCI, we work with almost all the guys in the market. So that's where we are coming from. And we largely do consulting, partnership, and training. Training is the segment where we are taking this long course, 4-month course, which is what is starting on 4th of this month. The set of customers which we have, I'm happy to say that anybody who wants any kind of reference, every name is open. We sort of work in an open framework. So everybody knows everyone. So if you want to know what we do and you want to consult them directly and say, oh, we heard that they work with you, you can ask anyone in that company. We have no questions asked on that. So we are happy with it. Let's go back to our training experience. So we've sort of done almost 12 hours of training. And this is only on fintech side. Okay, fintech and digital transformation. That's the only thing which we sort of work on. And we have done training for corporates, training for colleges, training for all the founders. A lot of CXOs are from our classes as such. Now let's come back to subject, right? I think the fact of the matter is that banking is the only segment which literally delivers nothing. When I say literally delivers nothing, is there's no physical component other than the that other than the lockers, there is no physical component. Even if you do a transaction like a loan, money comes into your account, the process can be digitized. There's no physical aspect, unlike a Uber, Ola, or OLX. Something in OLX also something has to be picked up. In banking world, not really. It's so basically what all the seniors in the market are saying, that every bank or every entity is a technology company which has a license, which has to do something for the customer, and that's where they exist. So I think good news is that we used to see these patterns in all the other countries. Now when we work with senior bankers in the country, and all the founders, all the senior guys in the bank also talk about the same thing, that said, Sabir, today, I actually attended a session where one of our client last week, that top management, 100% of top management was only listening to future of banking, and we took a session there. So and they were interested. We were not listening. They were not making random questions. They were very specific. What can we do? Where the value can happen? Now, in terms of the changes, what is driving this is, of course, three things. I think subprime crisis created the fintech market. Then we had UPI. This is the time when actually UPI, when we have Demon, which is 2016, 8/11, is actually I resigned a month after that, or maybe 2 weeks after that, because I thought that market is going to change and we can sort of accelerate the change. And that's how the genesis of our company is. We actually are celebrating 4 years this month. And of course, Corona has changed a lot of pieces for it. Of course, I don't want to make a session on Corona because everybody knows it. But my take on it is very simple. I think all banks will start resembling like a fintech, because fintech is what? Fintech is it offers, I mean, I'm saying very structurally, it offers faster, uh, any service much faster, much more convenient. For example, you could always make a bill payment, going to the place and physically submitting that cash and getting the receipt. Sitting at home doing the same activity, it makes it easier for you to consume, and you don't miss your right now bills. Earlier I used to miss a lot. So that's something which you have not, and you don't spend time on it. So it makes us faster, it makes it cheaper, it makes it convenient. Now banks are also learning to do it in partnership with fintech. Now in some areas they are even doing better. Some places Kotak 811 is much better than even fintechs, right? They're doing it at scale as well. But of course there are places where things can improve much more. But fact of the matter is, Kotak Mahindra Bank is in a sense a traditional bank. There are traditional MFIs, traditional NBFCs, all of them, because there is so much of technology, AIML, digital systems available. All of them will become digitally empowered financial institutions, and that is a journey where they may not be called fintechs, but they will be digitally powered. And at that point of time, they will sort of compete for the market, and they have a bit of advantage as well, where cost of capital is low, and they have access to a lot of customers already. So they will do a lot of cross sell, as we have started seeing it. Now, this is largely the fintech ecosystem, the way it looks right now. It's again, as I said, work in progress. Every time we make up one update and something else changes. But if you look at largely, you have banks at the center, and then banks run on technology. It can be LOS, LMS, and then on top of that, you have a framework around CRM, payments, BPM, omnichannel, and then you need API gateways. You need API gateways because you will need partnership with the ecosystem. You really can't exist in isolation. Pure isolation, you can't exist. And then you can build your own sort of neobanks, right? So as a bank, you can go back and say, oh, I'll partner some neobanks on the retail side. I'll partner with some SME neobanks, and on the side, I'll build up my own neobank ourselves, which is the case with Kotak 811 or a Yono or anybody else. Or you also say that I'll partner with big techs like a phone pay or a Geo or somebody else, and scale up. And then of course there's the opportunity you have also to sort of have a partnership with the third party products, right? Now third party products like a mutual fund, you can actually sell their products, you can sell somebody else's insurance. Largely I'm just trying to convey that the banking world is going to coexist in a system where everything around them is digital and technology based, and you have a good framework of adoption APIs. You will of course scale with time, right? So that's the framework which you are sort of trying to convey in the session or in this particular slide. Anybody has any question, we can take it. We are not in any tearing hurry, so it'll be good for us to sort of respond back if you have any question here. If not, we'll continue. So if you see the trends which we see in the market as of now, And again, there may be more trends, but we have picked up top five, which we thought are very, very critical. The first thing is that the banking is now getting embedded in the customer journey. Now, it can even be other way around, right? For example, today you have, let's say, Bank Open, which is trying to simplify life of SMEs. Similarly, which is coming from fintech perspective, but bank like ICICI Bank and HDFC Bank are also offering similar services, which are not just doing solving the for the banking needs of it. They are solving the non-banking needs also, and they realize that nobody is going actually into their internet banking platform at all for their services. They were actually trying to use their own platforms, and ICICI Bank and HDFC Bank both have launched this platform, which can do much more. They can do invoicing, they do collection, they can do salary payment, they can do GST, taxation, all of that, which is what the MSMEs need. They don't need only the banking world, which is sort of simplistic, right? So that's where the sort of structure comes up. Second is, I think the second point, which all of us have learned, is the market changes so fast. And I'll talk about the use case which is there, that in Australia. In Australia, there is this BNPL by Afterpay has become like a rage there, and it's scaling. And they've got also into sort of IPO also has come out. So suddenly, CBA and other banks out there are actually launching their own buy now pay later BNPL, right? Which is basically saying that it's not a loan. You have to pay in after, let's say, 15 days, 30 days, or in 4 installments of short duration. And in this buy now pay later product, you will basically make money from the merchant side. The customer does not pay additional interest. Or, for example, Emirates is trying to link sort of interest rate to sort of how much you run. The fact of the matter is that these BNPL products, CBA would not have been able to launch if their internal systems are not rapid, right? So, for example, market is running very fast. Every now and then, RBI comes and asks for a new change in the direction, new process, new plan. And instead of reacting, your platform technology and product team has to be able to enable it rather fast and ensure that you move ahead as well. I remember those days where when we had demonetization, and as the CTO, every day RBI was issuing some new instruction. Every night we were coding and getting ready for it. And I can tell you that in those days, within the bank, we were able to adapt to the new direction within a day or two. Many banks remained on paper and just couldn't change anything because their process were not sort of as fast to code and as fast to roll out. Hyper personalization, because we thought that customer is a customer is a customer, and we offer them basic product like a savings account and just change the rate, just change the charges and say it's a new product. I think customers are expecting much more personalization. I think when we say Shiro's is trying to launch a neo bank for women, I think they're trying to create something very, very specifically for women. And it's not about color pink, but more than that. And I have a experience of setting up a women-oriented bank earlier. I think almost 8 years back, I had set up Bhartiya Mahila Bank, which is specifically for women. But very little of the products we were doing were actually built for women. There's no personalization. We were at the early stage. But I'll be honest, I think we could have done so much with that concept. And we left that charter because it was created as sort of as a PSU bank. And the framework was different. They were looking and launching early. The personalization was not there. Today, I believe that with Shiro's knowing so much about women, I'm sure they will be able to create something very unique for them. Coming to sort of platform, I think all banks are looking at themselves as a platform, so that they can actually integrate with third parties on consumption side. So, for example, they can offer their APIs to third parties so that somebody can use for payment, somebody can use for lending, somebody can use for any, or even for trade finance perspective, right? Why do they need to have our own front end if third party can do it? So that's the one side of the business. Second is, can they actually pull APIs from third party and sell to the customer? And the third angle is that, let's say, can they integrate with entities like Othbridge or a Karza or somebody else so that they can improve customer journey. So APIs is becoming sort of a sort of basics of banking. If you don't have APIs for fintechs, you don't even exist anymore. And the last piece, which is very, very crucial right now, is about in the earlier avatar of the world, I think there were a few digital evangelists in the companies in some departments. And I can tell you that in 2000, when I was the chief digital officer of let's say, Citibank, I was actually merely maybe a manager in technology. I was basically heading the electronic banking department, and that's about it, right? There was nobody involved into it. And now today we have a structure which is many of the entities are at the secondary level where you have a digital banking head, and there are few guys here and there. I believe that entities like Kotak may also be still reaching there, or slightly evolving to third level. But most of them, the country is still between a level 1 and level 2. Level 3 will be, you will not have at all a chief digital officer in the company, because CEO himself will be the CDO, and it will be, everything will be board level agenda. And the digital guys will be in each department, because digital and normal business will actually be part of the same framework. You can't segregate it anymore. So that's our thought process on the trends. At this point of time, I'll sort of stop for any questions anybody has on these thought processes. Anybody has any question on this framework?
I have a question. This is Puneet Chopra.
Yeah, Preet.
If you look at a lot of the private sector banks in India today, from a outside in view, as a customer, whether retail or MSME or corporate, they seem to be pretty much digital, right? I mean, all the offerings are available online through app or whatever. So in that sense, to do any banking, the customers really don't. So, I mean, how do you see them sort of different from the fintechs, or the sort of future view that you are kind of presenting? So aren't many of them already there? Where are the sort of big gaps, particularly when we look from outside in? Internally, when you look as a CTO or a technology person inside the bank, maybe there are a lot of gaps and silos. So if you could elaborate a little bit on that.
Yeah, I think I'll try to talk about maybe a few pointers here. The first pointer is just look at the experiences they are building, and I'll give you a real experience. And I my apologies if there is anybody from ICICI Bank here, but I'm not going out of fact. So I saw the ads coming in TV saying they've gone digital in the big way, right? So to experience, I will talk about that. So I went ahead and tried to fill the form. Interestingly, it does not take Mumbai when you enter. Okay, because Mumbai, it will take only when you drop down, you pick it up and add. Somebody just forgot to put an experience there, right? I couldn't fill it up. I mean, I took me maybe 5-10 minutes to figure out how to fill it up, because it has its own algo. So this is first example of bad experience, and which means that I have put ad. You may still be getting leads and conversions, because when millions of the customers in India apply, some will go through, right? Some will be still very, very determined to do it. Most will not, right? So journeys are not great. Second is, when you start applying for it, let's say I struggled and got data in, and it was not a great experience. That's being very honest about it. Right. I tried again and put myself as an MSME. Okay, I'll just give you an example, not that I'm right or wrong.
Yeah.
I put my salary into the structure and say income in the structure, and promptly I got a rejection saying that we can't take you, and there's no framework which I can handle you, right? So they said you are not part of my framework. And my team member was sitting with me, and I said, okay, let me tell you that how you are better than me. So I only did is that I converted myself from a founder or owner to an employee, and I reduced my salary dramatically, income dramatically, and promptly it came back saying, yeah, you are eligible, and this is the amount. So which means that MSME or SME as a segment, you just dropped completely. Okay, so this is, I mean, you can say I love sort of salaried class, and that's all I know. Then you are basically hitting the same road again and again and again. So I can go on and on. I tried in one more bank. They were all digital, and I applied. They hit my bureau score as well. You have to realize he hit my bureau score. And then the guy calls me next day, and he tells me that, Samir, do you have a current account with us? I said, no. He said, your minimum qualification for this account is 6 months of running account with us. only then I will get you on board. Now, I don't know what is digital about it, right? You basically failed me both ways, right? You have made me apply, you made me cry because you hit my score, and you tell me that the minimum eligibility is that you only can do it when you are my own customer. Then why didn't you prompt me there, right? You shouldn't have allowed me to apply. You should have put it my if I should have been part of your internet bank somewhere else. All I'm saying is that it looks great when you do it. And then maybe last piece I will say, in the PNL report, everybody talks right now that this much amount of transactions are done digitally, which is okay, right? ICICI or HDFC, for example, says 85%, 95% of my transactions will be migrated to digital platforms. I want to know what percentage of their revenues are through these sources.
Right.
For Paytm, it is 100%. For ICICI,
Yeah.
that's
Just
it.
a very quick, question on what you mentioned. Do you see this also as, apart from digital transformation, elements of sort of human-centric design, or strong sort of processes which are customer-centric to be also equally important, in the sense that a completely digital bank, which may have origins in digitization, some of the examples you gave, or let's say fintechs, could also get it wrong if they don't have the right customer centricity, understanding of human behavior, and some of that. So, are there elements of that equally important for this transformation journey?
I think Puneet, yeah, I mean, what you're saying is factually correct, right? Basically, nobody experienced it from the client perspective. And the first thing which we talk about whenever I'm talking to my customers is that meet the customer, right? All that we may have hallucinate sitting in corporate office and with our environment, going on the ground, meeting the customer, getting their perspective, getting their life feel, right? Saying what is the problems they are facing, what is the solution for that, is the only answer for it. For example, you may build that. I mean, ICICI has built that platform, great, but I suspect nobody really filled it up from the customer perspective. You know how to fill it up, right? For example, as a customer, you have been tester, right? You know how to fill it up. You know the process. You know what is the basic minimum the system requires, and you fill it up. So you not even think thought. I mean, I think these entities can even go one. Should do a deep search on the ground, and that's what maybe many fintechs I've seen them doing, and my customers also do it. Second is that I think from a hiring perspective, when you hire product managers, I think it may be a good idea to hire MSMEs as product managers themselves. They will tell you what needs to be done. I mean, I learned it hard way. I built I think all kind of digital banks or internet banking for the country, right? Kotak, Citi, DCB, from Infosys side, multiple. But the perspective I got was only when I moved on this side and I realized that my need is not internet banking. My need does not start there at all. Even today, it's not the critical part. My job primarily is to ensure that my accounting system has the right invoices up and running, and we are following up that on that. And the reconciliation, which is what we expect, should be happening automatically. That's what my expectations are. Making salary payment twice, one in the system, and second internet banking is a disaster. I think that's how my thought process is much more refined because I'm sitting on the other side. That is the challenge which I had. I was blinded with my knowledge of what I knew. But the fact of the matter is the reality lies outside, which is what I keep telling. Meet the customer; they will tell you more than what you will ever know. And don't even need to. I mean, one more point: you don't need design thinking classes at all. I think while we will take in our training, we will do design thinking, but I'll try to simplify. Meet the customer, ensure that his requirements are taken care of. Meet the employees and ensure that their requirements are taken care of. If these two are taken care of, design thinking automatically happens.
Sure. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. Any other question before we proceed? Yeah. If not, let's continue. So basically, what we do with our customers and even our classes largely is to ensure that we sort of move people towards this segment where every entity and I can tell you some banks are definitely trying to go there, where every entity, every unit has their own sort of experts running these businesses rather than centrally, because then centrally there is a contest which is happening. Anyway, I'll not go up into tech side, but tech is also critical. AML now 5G is also coming, and many of you we asked maybe thinking that blockchain may or may not work. but experimentation will not kill. And I now see blockchain very, very close to being of real use to the business world. OCR, which was long regarded as a waste of time, is now sort of central to our life because paper still exists, and getting it into digital is what is critical. I mean, we are right now digitizing the journey of somebody in mid Southeast Asia, and OCR is the most critical component there because physical documents are physical documents; they are not digitized as of now. And basics RPA, which we were using earlier as a batch program, still is making sense, and you can do a lot about it. Even if you were to apply in each of your segments, some component of it which will help sort of customer experience as well will be very useful in the long term. And we don't need every banker does not have to become a blockchain expert, but every banker should at least know how to get the blockchain experts to do the work. I think that's more critical for us. And lastly, if you look at it, the how the ecosystem looks like in the banking world, I think the layers in between, which is the platform and all, I think there is one change which is happening. Some of them is moving towards cloud. And my perspective is that over a period of time, everybody has to move to cloud because there's no choices, right? Even if as a bank, you may think that you have a choice. You don't have a choice, right? Because when Flipkart or Amazon does a year end or a month end or any kind of sort of incentive, finally they're going to hit through UPI also, going to hit banking world only. And if you have to be ready for sort of super scale, you need to align to that framework where your core banking platform also has a microservice. It is actually running on cloud so that you can make it scalable as the need be. And then you need to have some top end LOS, LMS platform because lending is becoming more and more interesting. Now, critical component, which is one level up, which is API platform. I think this is becoming very, very crucial. Even not just for external platform, but your internal platform also. Everything has to run off the API platform because that's where you can control, you can actually ensure that the pace at which transactions are processed, the number of transactions which can be processed, how do you monetize it, all of that is put on the framework. And on that layer, and then of course you need to ensure that there's a supporting structure on data lake and AML and all of that. All of that on top of that, you can ensure that you have your own platforms coming up. You have some partners from which you can source business, or you can have a fintech business. All of that will run on a sort of omni-channel platform, which runs on top of an API platform. So that's the base framework where everybody will go forward in next few months, few years. And we can't say that, okay, my IMPS is not working well, so the experience will be sort of bit not great. I think we have no choices to make. We have to ensure that every component which can become a bottleneck in customer experience has to be solved for, and solved not from a your own perspective, but solved from a customer perspective. So customer's problem is collections and reconciliation. And you couldn't offer them a virtual account, whereas maybe Razorpay could. But Razorpay actually took your own platform and make it simpler for others to consume. So how do you ensure that instead of you losing that revenue, you actually can work hard and sort of be there? I think generally, when we look at it, we also know that there's a value proposition which Simple has, which is about, I don't know if you know, this is buy now pay later product. It's about customer centricity, and Simple has been able to scale like anything in the country. So customer centricity today, you have to have a checkout on the mobile on a Swiggy. You have to do maybe a 16-digit code and UPI and all of that. If you click on Simple, you actually close the transaction, and Simple will collect after 15 days from you. Or a Bank Open, which is solving the problem of let's say MSMEs like Bank Open, which is ensuring that invoicing, bookkeeping, automation is taken care of. Or MoneyTab, which actually solved a retail issue because MSMEs and corporate always had a line, credit line, but retail people didn't have. So MoneyTab came in. Or Lemonade, which is not an Indian startup, but basically gives instant insurance and instant claims, which is not possible in most of the countries, right? Or, for example, Khata Book, which is trying to solve the SME's problem of credit, right? So, if you like it or not, country works on credit, and Khata Book is solving. So, we know these value propositions, they are there. In many cases, even fintechs are doing a great job, but banks may not able to compete in these places. Now, they have a choice to make. And I always believe there are guys who say they have to always collaborate. I think I'll put it, my framework is like this. We also should have a competition structure. So the fintechs, so banks must compete very head on with let's say Kotak has competed, or maybe Bajaj has competed and sort of done very, very well in this segment. In fact, Bajaj itself has created Bajaj Direct kind of framework, which is actually competing with the mother brand as well, and they are offering loans from other companies as well. So you can actually compete, which is the choice which many large players are having, or you collaborate, which means that SBM, State Bank of Mauritius, has been very carefully saying that we are not going to compete with anyone. We are a local bank, but a very, very new bank, and I'll go all out to collaborate. I was part of DCB, and our job primarily was to collaborate with the market because competition would have burnt us alive, right? So there's no point in competing generically. Of course, there's a specific point where you will compete, and there are points which they can do, and every bank will do, but otherwise you will collaborate as much as you can. And if you have money, which is the case with, let's say, ICICI or Axis, you will either invest and acquire. So that's largely the basic framework. Larger banks tend to acquire or invest or compete, and the smaller entities tend to collaborate. But I will not, I don't want to sort of generalize it, but that's largely whatever we have seen, I mean, in the framework, how it works right now. Any questions on that? Okay. If not, we'll proceed. Now, in terms of how will it affect the job market, Srikant, I mean, just one sec. Sorry, my mistake. So let's continue. So how will it affect the job market? I think our view is that anybody who's in operations, credit, retail sales, and finance, all of these units, I think these units will go through a serious downturn. And I'm not here to scare, but I know that's how it is working right now, playing around. And there'll be higher hiring which will happen in digital marketing because banks have pretty weak marketing, social marketing platforms, processes. We need better guys on compliance who know digital piece so that they can underwrite those products, partner with those products. Product teams roles will change because currently product teams is doing largely a MIS and basic frameworks. They will get deeper into building of the products in partnerships and all. And user experience, for example, most banks don't have a UX guys within the company. I think they will end up, most banks will have a very deep and large UX team and data science team. So that's where we see the hiring happening and downsizing happening. I think this is what very closely we have seen. Of course, there are roles which happen in normal business as well, but net at the higher level, we see a downturn at least on these roles. And these are all, I'm taking retail on the MSME side. Corporate side, I don't see much of a challenge at all. Corporate will continue to work the way it is working right now. And of course, there are new units coming up, banking as service, digital banking, data science. All of these units are getting, data science units are not there in most banks even now, but they're getting built at this stage. And there are roles which will come up in these areas. So banking as service, for example, RBL has it and others have in a very unstructured manner. But we do see that this unit will become prominent and may also carry a P&L responsibilities as well. And of course, these roles will also come up, which is digital partnership manager or fintech product managers, insights guys, lending expert, payment expert within the company, API management platforms experts. So all of these roles are coming up. And when we do this training, whatever we are doing, there of course our entire sort of course is around these trainings, so that people are getting ready for these roles. And of course, most of the guys are also at the senior level, so some of them are already CDOs, CTOs, and they join our courses. But and a lot of founders also joined it. But these new roles, if you are gunning for, may also be relevant from our training perspective. At this point of time, I'll sort of go forward and share some information about the certificate itself. Any questions till now? Yeah, Oscar.
Samir, can you just go back to the last slide? What are the roles that are being built?
These are some of the examples of the roles which are coming up. On the lending side, I see tons of roles. In fact, I will not try to irritate any one of you, but the salary which are thrown right now in these roles is exorbitant. So I was telling that, so there's somebody from US setting up a shop in India, and they were hiring for a product manager for that role, something like maybe 8 years experience. And I asked what salary. He said, I mean, no constraint. I will go 1 CR plus 1 crore plus any kind of bonus or any kind of stock share. Now, I'm not saying randomly it happens, but there are entities, there are places where very, very few guys with so much of competencies exist today. So these roles are becoming more and more powerful. Partnership is one of the critical ones. We almost run the PNL in these roles.
Uh, Samir, I have a question here. Digital partnership manager. So, means how does it differ from a, banking and or a banking and alliance guy, or means a similar role kind of roles, right? Wherein
So I'll tell you why it will be different, because
looks
right
like
now,
a
if you
different one.
so Oscar, I'm visualizing these roles right now in a sense from more from a bank's perspective. Okay, so as when you're running from the bank's perspective, you would think of bankers may not think of partnership as such immediately. So right now, many banks are creating these roles so that they can build those partnership with fintechs or the lending side, or even from a corporate side. So you need to sort of be aware of technology, being aware of the partnership structure and how the revenue will be made. Normally, when you are thinking from a fintech perspective, this is a business as usual role. In any fintech, you will have a partnership guy, and that is typically a banker who would have joined that because he knows how to talk the banker's language. It's other way around. You are on the sitting on the bank side and talking digital language. That is where the difference is.
Got it, got it. Yeah, जिसको जो सुनना है वही सुनाना है. Perfect.
You're thinking that in let's say your company you will have partnership guys because they are talking to bankers. They have a simple language because they came from this side and they have carried the same language. Reverse is more difficult, which is where the training is required. And training is required also because the experience, you have to sell the experience back in your company, right? For example, normally when you go and say want to do a partnership with, let's say, Flowbiz, right? For Flowbiz got funded yesterday by $10 million. Now, when $10 million is coming, you suddenly realize Flowbiz exists. Understanding what they do, figuring out what you can offer, and pitching him that right solution is what is more complicated. And then going ahead and with your company, you're a bank, and ensuring that your processes change aligned to what Flowbiz expects is the most critical part. So relationship you can open quickly, but making it happen is where the game is all about.
Got it, Samir. Thank you.